When God radically changed my life about 5 years ago by bringing me to faith in Christ, I have since felt a call to build up others and to make people feel cared about. I love to encourage people, and I'm very much a peacemaker. And I value sincerity, trust, and integrity. All of these combined certainly play a role in how I understand and practice PR. Hello, I am Adrianna Barragan, and I am a senior public relations student with an emphasis in the agency and corporate sector of PR. When I started at Biola in the fall of 2015, I actually entered in as a kinesiology major with pretty set plans to become a physical therapist. And it didn't take long for me to realize that that was not a path fit for me, so I then switched to intercultural studies. I made my final switch by sophomore year and became a public relations major. And I had no idea what PR was, and I would say probably up till last year, I still didn't know what PR was. And I'm definitely learning and growing. Today, I will be walking through the ethical development of public relations and how it has and currently is striving for ethical maturity. I get really excited about talking about this and learning about it because I see a story of PR practitioners learning and growing in the practice to advance the profession to serve others better. And to me, everything is about serving others, and that's why I get really excited. When I started learning about the ethics of public relations and how it has developed over time, it has also given me a sense of my calling's history and has helped me understand its role in society. So I'd like to show you just a few facts from Gallup's Honesty and Ethics ranking, where Americans rate different professions based on their honesty and ethics. Nurses rated 82% very high, and lobbyists rated 58% very low. Lobbyists are considered less ethical than advertising practitioners, car salespeople, and members of Congress. Now I know, PR practitioners and lobbyists are not the same thing, but as I kept looking and studying into Gallup's report, I was realizing that their definition of lobbyists, which is to influence and persuade others, looked very much like former practices of public relations. And so this brings an issue that I've faced many times when trying to talk to others about public relations. We're normally on different pages. People are thinking that it's very unethical when I think it's super ethical and we can positively influence society. And so with that, I would like to bring us to 4 methods of public relations that Grunig and Hunt have identified. These also reflect the ethical development of public relations over the course of its history. And it goes from an elementary method to a sophisticated method of PR. And so we begin with the press agentry model. It's reminiscent of P.T. Barnum, and for those who are not in PR, if you think of The Greatest Showman, there's P.T. Barnum, and it focuses more on the outcomes over the process. And so therefore, the ends tend to justify the means, and this leads to a very unethical process of PR. We then go into the public information model, and here we start seeing that unlike press agentry, we start valuing virtues, and it uses media relations to get PR information into the public eye. Then we move to the two-way asymmetrical model, and this is where PR practitioners begin to value and champion two-way persuasive communication. And so now we're starting to see that they're considering the public's more instead of just the organization's interest, and that's obviously a huge step in ethical development. Now, before I hit on our 4th method of PR, the two-way symmetrical model, I want to make sure I mention that it was built on all of these 3 different or former methods. With the press agentry model, it introduced the importance of the organization's interest. The public information model highlights on the importance of accuracy and honesty. And the two-way asymmetrical model introduces considering the public's. And so now we're in the two-way symmetrical model, and this is where PR is flourishing and where I truly believe that it can benefit society. Here, it champions and seeks to build mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. It tries to or attempts to minimize the potential imbalance between organizations and their publics, and it focuses on dialogue. Ethical discourse occurs when organizations and their publics have transparency or treat each other with transparency and integrity. And most of the ethical decisions in this method are guided by justice, fairness, and equality. Now, I would like to just briefly touch on 4 organizational attitudes that coincide with these 4 methods of PR. And so we begin with the public be damned, and I will only say that word for this presentation. But this is where organizations really were willing to say anything or do anything for the sake of their own agendas, and they did not value publics at that time. And then we move into the public be informed, where there's a more responsible approach to communication. And then we have mutual understanding, where organizations are wanting to understand publics, but it's still to serve their own self-interest. And then it brings us to mutual adjustment, where we're not only trying to understand publics, but we're really trying to build mutually beneficial relationships with them. According to the 2017 Edelman Earned Brand Study, we currently live in a belief-driven culture where people are seeking out and looking to organizations as its greatest effort to change culture. Now, we're also currently in the digital age and globalization era, where internet and social media have really impacted how PR is played out in our day-to-day life. It has allowed us to hear more diverse viewpoints because, well, as you know, in social media, you get to hear more people. And because of that, we have greater communication with one another. And there's also an increase in organizational transparency, which is very exciting as well. And when you combine all these 3 together, I really believe that PR practitioners have a huge opportunity to influence society in a positive way. Last semester, Professor Simon, in his PR Management, Ethics, and Philosophy course, we were challenged to create our own definition of public relations. My definition has completely changed since then, and I'm so glad it has, and I think that also is a testimony of how we are always growing and learning. But now I can say that PR is advocacy in its essence, and it has the opportunity to positively influence society. Coram Deo. I first heard this phrase when I was reading devotionals by R.C. Sproul, who went home to be with the Lord almost a year ago. And this phrase refers to, or to live coram Deo, is to live one's life in the presence of God, under the authority of God, and to the glory of God. Especially within this semester, I've been really reflecting on what does it mean to do everything in faith, to do everything for the glory of Christ. This past summer, I had the opportunity to intern at my church. And I think it's easy to see how that glorifies God, but this past semester, I have been interning with a PR agency in Newport Beach. And I remember at the beginning, I was like, how can I sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day and do this in faith? And I think it came down to doing just the little things. I would take the extra time to do research, to make sure I was doing my projects well, and serving my staff through doing good work, and then even taking the initiative to do projects that I wasn't asked to do, but I offered to do. In May 2019, I will be graduating from Biola, Lord willing, and I don't know what this next year will hold, but I am committed to high standards of ethics and professionalism so that I can distinguish public relations from other skilled occupations and make it a calling serving others. Now, as I close, I would like to leave you with this quote by John H. Kultgen from his book, Ethics and Professionalism. If I have done my job well for the right purpose, my life has substance and meaning. If I have done my job poorly or for the wrong purpose, I have squandered my life, however much I have prospered. In whatever capacity we may be currently serving in or will be serving in, I sincerely hope that for all of us, we would do it in faithfulness and for the glory of Christ. Thank you.